Hello, we're live. That's right. YouTube, hello. Hello, YouTube community. Oh, one of you who are watching right now. Oh, there are two of you now. Excellent. If we can get at least two people to watch this, then we're doing well. Okay, so this is time to record the Wednesday podcast. I heard some sads about there not being a Monday episode. I took Memorial Day off. And by took Memorial Day off, I mean I actually spent a whole bunch of time working here. Got a lot done the last 2 days. And then I got another person out, Jenny, who came out and she kind of helped with some pre-workshop. Oh my goodness, it'd be good if we had things set up for the workshop work. And she did a whole bunch of cleaning at like with the pressure washer. It was great. Hi, Bobby. Hi, Janet. So we're just going to jump in and record today's topic, which is, hi, Lynn. Hi, Chris, which is about managing visitors to your farmstead or homestead or farm, because we had some questions and a great discussion over on Facebook about this topic. So I'm going to get going here with the podcast recording, which, as you know, we do live. And if I make a mistake in the podcast, I'll edit. If I see a comment on the YouTube, wow, I have like a scratchy throat today. No, I don't have coronavirus. But, excuse me, see, you guys get to see what really happens when I do the podcast recording. I do edit on the fly, so I don't have to go back and find things. Yep, Chris, I'm looking forward to the workshop too. I'm a little like, it's critical path time. So between now and the workshop, every day is about the workshop. Yeah, there's a lot to do, but we're getting it done. We're having a GSD weekend this weekend and putting up the event tent or tents. I have two. Don't know if they're both going up, getting the fire pit area set up, like doing stuff like that. And it's not supposed to rain. It's pouring down rain right now outside, but it's not supposed to rain. So I'm kind of excited about having an event set up day that's not rained on. Of course, I just taunted Murphy, didn't I? We do have the YouTube live stream with the Holler Neighbors on Thursday. That's tomorrow at 7. And we have the webinar. So anyway, rather than tell you guys on YouTube this, though, I should just like do it as part of the whole podcast, which is coming out. So we're gonna go over here, hit record, all that good stuff. I need a record button, please. With the record button, please report to Nicole's dashboard. Record button, please report to Nicole's dashboard. Okay, here we go. Well, welcome everyone to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you want to live on your terms. Today is Wednesday, May 27, 2020, and this is episode 311 of Living Free in Tennessee. And the workshop is 2 weeks away. 2 more weeks. The weather this week is super rainy. And then it gets like less rainy for a week. And we're hoping that trend will endure through the workshop, just because when we get rain here, it's muddy. But holy cow, the workshop's 2 weeks away and there's so much to do. I have to get in all orders basically today and tomorrow because it's taking stuff forever to ship. And yeah, so as you can imagine, we're running around the week of the workshop. So the week, it's a June 11 through 13. Like that week of June 9th, no podcasts because we'll be full on the workshop. I'll start podcasting again the Monday after the workshop. And then I am going on an overnight backpacking trip with my mom that week. So there may be one other episode that doesn't happen, but it's fun time here in the holler. There's so much going on. Okay, so today, this was inspired by somebody over on the Facebook group, and I couldn't find the post to see who, and I couldn't remember because this conversation has been going on for a week on the Facebook group, but somebody asked, like, what would I do about visitors to the farm or visitors to the homestead? And I really didn't answer it because it was on my phone when I saw it, and I thought, well, actually, that'd make a great episode. And then people started answering and giving their feedback, and they had really good advice. And so then I thought, well, I'll give my take on it for the Wednesday show this week. So today I'm going to review 5 things to consider about having guests out to your farm or homestead, particularly the kind of guests who ask if they can do something to help, and how to navigate this slippery slope with grace and humor, because it is a slippery slope. Also, today is Holler Hat Wednesday. And I'm not posting a picture online because I didn't take a picture and it's pouring down rain and I don't feel like going outside in the pouring down rain to find a picture to take. So next week we'll resume Holler Hat Wednesday. A couple other reminders. Tomorrow at noon, we have the webinar Getting Started with Google My Business with Joshua Sloan from sloantech.com, who we heard on the show last Friday. Be sure to get signed up to that, and I will be sending the Zoom link out this evening to everybody who's registered. I will also put it on the premium members portal page, so you log in, click to go to your premium member page, and the link straight to the Zoom will be there. He's going to take questions, so if you have been looking, if you've already started setting up Google My Business, it's still worth going to the webinar. I'm very honored that Joshua is doing this over at our livingfreeintennessee.com website. That's how you sign up. And it's just that I totally screwed up the order of my words. And now you guys who are watching the YouTube are going to watch me hit stop and then splice back in. Outtake number 1. I hope that made you laugh. Josh is not over at the Living Free in Tennessee website, nor is Zoom. Okay, so then we edit split regions at playhead, delete the nonsense. Boom. Now, what was I saying? Then we go back and we listen. Oh no, we're just recording over everything on accident. Do you know what you do when you have this problem? You hit stop and you hit edit, undo recording, and then it all goes back. So anyway, I encourage you to sign up for that workshop, attend that workshop. If you can't be there and you sign up, we'll get video out to you within a week. And I know I've been behind on videos from like webinars that we've been doing. So I'm going to commit to getting those done by the end of the day, Friday this week. And make sure everybody gets those too who are on those webinars if I have your email. And we'll also post them up in the member portal. I have a really cool video editing station up at my standing desk. I finally got it all hung on the wall, and it's easier to edit video on a bigger screen than my little MacBook Air. So we'll have that all ready for you. The other announcement is it's every other week. It's an every other. We're having a live stream with the Holler Neighbors tomorrow at 7. So tomorrow's a big day. It's a big day. We got the Zoom webinar and we've got the 7 p.m. live stream with the Holler Neighbors. Final reminder, if you want to send me feedback or a Stump the Sauce message, you can do it. Just email me, Nicole at livingfreeintennessee.com. That's Nicole at livingfreeintennessee.com. Nicole. There is not an H in Nicole. I don't know why you'd spell it that way, but some people do, and I'm not Nicole. I'm Nicole. Anyway, if you're not feeling like you can spell all that stuff, just go to livingfreeintennessee.com, click on the contact form. See, it happened again, guys. My nose itches. It's like, I know I touched my face. I don't have COVID, but I did touch my face. And yes, buddy, delete that nonsense. Does need to be a t-shirt. We'll get Mama Sauce on that. Hopefully she listens to this podcast and hears me say that. Oh, wait, she has to listen to the live stream because I'm not recording the podcast. Yeah, we have a pretty cool event t-shirt though. Do you guys want to see the logo for the event before I start recording again? Of course, you're probably like in a 5-minute lag for me. Well, if you do put yes, I'm going to start recording again. And at some point, I'll come back and let you guys see the logo if you're interested. I have to run out of the room to go get it though. Okay, it's time for Stump the Sauce. With that, it's time for our first regular segment, and that is Stump the Sauce, where y'all try to ask me a question and stump me, and or you just want to know a little piece of advice on something. This one's not about food. A lot of times this is recipe stuff. So, hey, Nicole, I've been listening to the LFTN and TSP for a while, and I enjoy your content. I have a Stump the Sauce / business question. I just bought a home inspection company, taking over for my mentor as he retires. We have an established website in relationship with a marketing firm to manage it. I am in the process of getting them up to update the site with my info, and it looks dated to me, but it's functioning. Do you think it'd be best to try to work with this company on getting it modernized, or should I try to find someone like you that can help me build a new/modern one? Below is the link to the website, Hunter in Richmond. Hunter, I looked at the website and it does look dated and it does work. There is some stuff I would do from a friendliness with Google standpoint on your site and some other things. But when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, it could use an overhaul. It's going to cost you like $1,500 to $2,500 to do that. And if that will bring you the business that's worth enough business to cover the cost, I say go for it. If you're like, that's not how I get most of my business, then you just need to decide where in the priority that is. As far as working with the marketing firm versus hiring somebody new, I would ask the marketing firm, like if you decide to modernize it, ask them what it would cost to give you the a new website. Just call it a new website because you need a new website. You're going to migrate that content over, but it needs a whole new design, right? And if it's not on WordPress, which I'm 99.9% sure it isn't, I didn't look, but it has some naming conventions in the URLs that lead me to believe it is not a WordPress site. Then you may have to like manually have moved all of the content that's there. So I would ask them for what it would cost to do that. I would ask them to just explain to you what management services they're providing. And in addition to the website management, are they helping you get leads other ways? Like understand the complete breadth of the services they're providing, understand what you're paying for it, and see if that's getting you what you need. So I know I'm not exactly answering your question. Marketing firms can be really helpful for lead generation and for getting your brand awareness out there. And you know, if it's been working for the person who mentors you for a long time, you know, don't change it if it ain't broke, sort of thing. That said, if you do decide to modernize and you do get a bid from them, it can't hurt to reach out to a few other firms and get their estimate for what it would cost as well. You want to make sure that when you do that you integrate web design, yearly hosting, what sort of maintenance services they're providing, and you know how they provide it. You want to compare apples to apples. So I hope this helps you get started. As I said, if that site is working for you, looking dated as it is, and it's not your number one priority, it's something you can put off because it does work and it doesn't look terrible. It's a little wonky on cell phone though. So do know that if you're going to start expanding into more modern markets, people look at sites on the cell phone. So you want to make sure that whatever you build is compatible with computer, tablet, and cell phone. I hope this helps give you a step forward, and super exciting that you are launching your business or buying this or something. That's awesome. It's actually a great way to start a business, guys, is to buy one that's established, especially one you've worked at with a mentor. That can really smooth over some of the rough edges if you set that up right. And then you have an established client base. And I mean, building the client base, man, that takes time and that takes effort. And having it come in the door like that can be really nice if you negotiate the right deal. Okay, next segment is what's up in the garden. You know what's up in the garden this week? Stuff is growing. You know what's growing a lot? Weeds. We have reached peak weed here in Tennessee. Peak weed is when the weeds come back faster than I can pick them and they end up taller than I am. So I'm on a rotation as best I can to keep. Here's how I prioritize it. First, the plants I'm growing gets weeded, and then I start edging further and further away. And we have more garden space now. And I think I might be the only one in the holler weeding right now, but I might not be. Yeah, there's weeding going on in other properties in the holler, but I'm the only one here doing it. And so I feel totally overwhelmed, like I do this time every single year. If I were to go out of town for a week, I would come back and they would be up to my waist. That's how peak weed works. And we're going to be in peak weed for about another 3 or 4 weeks. And then the dog days of summer settle in and it's not as bad. So a lot of what I'm doing, guys, to help myself with this is practicing mulching techniques. And what I'm fighting this year is that some of these beds have never been under control. And I didn't solarize them or anything this year. So I am doing a lot of chop and drop on things where I chop the weeds down and let them just stay on top of the ground. And they serve as a mulch layer. And that helps keep weeds from coming back. I am getting my sweet potatoes and my squashes going as fast as I can on my hillside project this year, which is right outside my office window. So I'm looking at box elder weeds I need to pull right outside my window as I record this podcast. And we'll see how that goes. Once the sweet potato greens come on, they will shade the ground from the sun. And it makes it so when things germinate and they're little and they need sunlight to grow, they don't get sunlight and we don't have as many weeds. That totally worked last year. This year, with our spring being as weird and late and cold as it was, some of those plants that like heat, that grow really fast once the heat comes, haven't been growing very fast. So like my squash plants are about a foot in diameter. Diameter? Yeah, I think that's the right word. If it's not, somebody will correct me later. You guys are good at that. Okay, the other thing I got going on is green beans and beets are up. And the beet patch that my chickens got into have a few beets in it. And then we've seeded the cucumber there too, because I gave up on the beets there. I made a new beet patch. That one's doing really well. Tomatoes and peppers are pretty much all out. The tomatoes have flowers on them, and I have like teeny tiny little green tomatoes starting in some of the little flowers. It's awesome. So in about 4 weeks, hopefully we'll have tomatoes starting to ripen. We are rapidly seeding things. So I have a tendency to put about 1 packet of seeds of something out every day or every other day. Yesterday, I ran around with a bunch of the Oriental like noodle bean seeds and put them in the aquaponics system and in some pots that will surprise some people because they're behind on my podcast when they start seeing these long vining beans coming out of their pots. But I digress. Anyway, it's part of the fun of this time of year is you can just put a bunch of seeds out and they grow. Because it's peak weed, right? It's peak weed right now. And I guess finally, today I harvested lettuce. So as you know, I have been doing indoor and outdoor lettuce growing. And well, I got a little behind on the starting new plants part, but then I figure we're moving into summer and I have Swiss chard coming on and I can take a little lettuce break and I kind of need those hours to get ready for the Living Free in Tennessee Spring Workshop. And my indoor lettuce growing operation is also banging. So today I took an hour and harvested all the lettuce I could and threw away the plants that were too big to, like they're starting to bolt, and then moved any of the littler plants into those slots. And I am down to 2 shelves of plants that are growing. I have 2 trays outside. And of course, the stuff in the aquaponics system is about to bolt. And then from there, after the workshop, basically, so between now and the workshop, I will eat I'll eat the lettuce I harvested today. And I got 4 stuffed gallon bags of lettuce in my fridge. And now I'm down to only 2 shelves and they look kind of sorry right now because I just harvested them and they're little, but that'll give me like probably 1 or 2 more harvests. And then I'm shutting it down until after the workshop. So I'll probably start germinating 20 plants at or right after the workshop. And then I'm going to cycle 20 plants every week or 2. What I didn't do well with the lettuce in the last 3 weeks is just starting new lettuce, because you got to start lettuce every couple of weeks. And I did start, however, 64 lettuce plants to begin with, which is why I have more lettuce than anybody can eat. Luckily, people will help me eat the lettuce and it lasts a week or 2 in the fridge. But I'm pretty happy with the production level that's come out of the lettuce growing operation, and I am ready to give it a little bit of a break just from a time management standpoint. So that is what is up in the garden. And I'm going to stop the podcast and talk to YouTube people. Hi, YouTube people. I have heard Tales from the Mutiny. I brought up the topic on Facebook. Well, thank you. It's a great topic. We're about to dive into that. Okay, so you guys said you want to see the logo. I'm going to run out. I'm like taking my headphones off and I'm running out of the room and getting the logo. Be right back. funny that Sue asked about my indoor lettuce grow operation. I will send you a picture, Sue, later. You see it? So this is one of the event swag things that people who attend get. And that's the logo, because the word of the year is grow. And the workshop topic is grow yourself, grow your food, and grow your independence. So that's what we'll be talking about. But we had to have some of these reprinted because they got like messed up in shipping. And yeah, these just arrived. I'm still waiting for the replacement coffee mugs that broke in shipping, but there will also be really awesome hollow roast mugs in a very pretty blue color. Anyway, yes, okay, back to the podcast. Have to hit record again. With that, it's time for the main topic of today's show, managing visitors to your farmstead. Sometimes there can be nothing more painful than somebody saying, hey, could I just come out and see how things work at your homestead? And you're like up to your knees in mud with a goat dragging you around, like in your worst mood of ever, thinking, and you have boxes piled in front of your door and who knows what else. And you're like, no, actually, I don't really want you out here right now. Like, I'm having a hard time. And that's okay. But visitors to your farmstead or your homestead, they can bring a lot of benefit. And when the question was asked, it was sort of like within the context of, people offer to come out and help with projects. And then what do I do? Because I've noticed when I have people come out to do something on the farm, I have to make it interesting. And most of the chores on the farm aren't interesting. And then I feel like I spend more time with that person than, well, I would have just getting my stupid stuff done. And then I won't be up to my knees in mud with the goat dragging me around on her tether. Yeah, well, so as I got to thinking about this, I was like, there are good ways to have people out to your homestead and help. And there are bad ways to have people out to your homestead and help. And I think when somebody asks us a question like this, there's a lot of pressure to say yes. And I think one of the hardest lessons in life is to learn to say no when you really just need to say no. And I know one of the ways I learned this lesson, it was December. I had just worked my tail off as I used to do when I was in the political arena. Up until about December 20th, you're working hard to get ready for legislative session, which starts in January, and then everything kind of shuts down for a little while. And sometimes you'll go up until Christmas Eve. Like, it just depends. And you're traveling, you're meeting with people, you're coming up with campaigns, you're like doing all this stuff. And of course, I'm a musician, so I'm also singing Christmas concerts and doing performances and, parties, that sort of stuff. And it used to be that by December, I'd be exhausted. Oh, wait, then I started a coffee business and then there's orders and people want to have them as Christmas. So it's the same cycle for me. And I could tell I was fighting a cold and I was exhausted and I was on the couch. And my friend called me who lives over the hill and she said, I don't know what I'm feeding my kids for dinner tonight because what I went to cook failed. So I got any ideas? Here are my ingredients. And I was like, what I have is a crock pot full of lamb stew. I'll just bring it over. And she's like, oh, that'd be awesome. I can make rice and blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't that she didn't. It's just that, like, sometimes when you're cooking from scratch, it takes a long time. And when something fails, it takes another long time. So I was like, whatever. Okay. So then I finished my day and I was about to walk out the door and I was like dragging butt and tried to leave. And Mark's like, where are you going? I'm like, well, I'm bringing my friend some lamb stew. And he's like, I can't believe you promised to do that. Sit on the couch, get under the blanket, read your book. And he took the lamb stew over there because he was like, you're going to make yourself sick. And that's when I realized I'm not always the best judge of when to say no. Like, what I should have done if I wanted to share my lamb stew was tell her to come over and get it. And she would have, right? Well, okay. So the same goes for people on your farmstead. When they say, hey, can I come out Saturday or Sunday or whenever and help you with something because I want to learn about homesteading or farming or animal husbandry or plants, and you're like, I've had people over every day for 3 months on every weekend, and I just need alone time, and I don't want the help, but this is a customer, and I don't want to take them off. It's still okay to say no. So the first thing to consider when you're thinking about managing visitors on your homestead is you are important too. The health of your plants and your animals are important, and you need to learn to say no. Find a nice way to say no. It's not a really good weekend. I'm sorry. How about, dedicated weekend to this? And if they push back, learn to stick to no. Because if you don't build that space, you'll end up owned by the people who come and visit. And you'll end up exhausted and with messes. It's not good. The first thing to consider is no. No is your friend. No makes your life better. And no does not have to be me. Anybody who's a decent customer of yours will understand. You know what? I just needed my selfish Sunday, and I'm going to take my selfish Sunday, right? So learn to say no. Second thing is consider setting up touring hours that work for you. So once you've got the no thing under your belt, when does it work to have visitors and on what terms? Saturday from 12 to 2? Not if you're going to the farmer's market, because when you come back from the farmer's market, you're wrecked, right? Wednesday evening from 4 to 6? Think about that really carefully. You know what? We take visitors these days and these times. And here's what you need to do to arrange a visit. Simple, no nonsense, gives a chance for your customers to see what you're up to or people who are just interested. And it gives you boundaries. And boundaries are good. And it sounds official. Like when you say it, it sounds official. I have hours of operation now. Never mind that every hour is an hour of operation on the homestead, but that's a totally different topic for a totally different day, right? So set up touring hours that work for you, or visiting hours, whatever it is. Almost everybody I know who has a successful farm that has successfully integrated touring or visitors has the hours set up, and they stick to them. I mean, unless it's somebody who's going to invest in your farm, you're not making exceptions. The reason you have the hours is so that you can do what you need to do. Then if you want to move to a deeper kind of visitors to your farmstead, consider visits as a profit center. A quick free visit, is that a profit center for you? It can be. If it's a customer or a potential customer who ends up buying your CSA package, right? It can be. So when you have visitors, think about how it does benefit your homestead or farmstead, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Agro-tourism is kind of a cool thing for the hipsters right now. And I think it's going to increase as we see more people paying attention to food supply chains and wanting to understand how their local food resources work. So agritourism, you can do it. You can start with just tours and hours where you show people what to do, or you can decide, you know what, I want to take this to the next level. Perhaps you have a guest cabin or a camper or a campsite, and perhaps you can rent that out to people who are interested in seeing how a farm works or how a homestead works, right? Well, that's now another kind of profit center. It takes work though. So you need to, do that in the context of the ROI on your time, right? But I made decent money renting my guest cabin for many years to people who were mostly either interested in going to play on the lake, which is near me, or they kind of wanted to see what this rural lifestyle was all about. And for some of them, they're like, whoa, that's not for me. And others have gone on to start their own homesteads. So you can really make an agro-tourism experience. And if you're attracting the kind of people who want to help, figure out a schedule for fun projects that agri-tourists might want to do. What they may not want to do is dig a hole for the composting outhouse. That's not very fun, is it? But what they might want to do is learn how to chop wood properly, learn how to process an animal, come and help with planting. Be real careful about coming to help with weeding. We will talk about that later. But, there are things that happen on a schedule that people can have fun with. And if you're providing food, be clear about what comes from your farm versus what doesn't. Consider a petting zoo. If you have goats and you have baby goat season, you can make a whole seasonal thing about baby goat petting and playing with baby goats. And we know somebody who does goat yoga on his farm. Okay, he has a horse farm and they had goats. And his wife's like, somebody's asked me about doing this goat yoga thing. And now that makes them all kinds of money. Like, people want to do yoga while goats jump on them. I've seen what happens with goats about every 10 minutes regarding defecation and peeing. So I'm not sure I want to do yoga with goats climbing on me, but other people are totally into that. And they pay money for it. Like, what do you have that can become a fun experience? Seasonal pumpkin patch, baby chick season, like all sorts of stuff. And then if you're really, really, really into this, you could also do classes. You can bring experts out to show how to do things, or you can, like, I will be doing canning courses if I can get people to sign up this year. This will happen. I will be doing webinars for members on how to do canning, but I also want to do some in-person stuff, especially now that the wall between my living room and my kitchen is gone. So once I get through the spring workshop, I'm totally looking at adding classes because I'm a good teacher. And I know skills that people are wanting to learn right now. And, that's all part of agritourism. So learn to say no, set up your touring parameters, and then consider building it to a profit center. Fourth thing to consider, farm work days. Okay, this is a bump above. This is not agritourism. This is like somebody who keeps asking you, like, but I really want to learn how to do this. You can set up farm work days and, go through a list of what you're doing for the season. And perhaps what you need to do is build a hay barn. Set that up as a farm work day and have people say, okay, you know what? Actually, on July 15th, we're going to be erecting a pole barn. I'm going to be working with these contractors or whatever. If you want to come out and help, I need you to do X. Is that something you want to do? You want to be that clear with objective so that they know what they're doing. So the key to setting up successful farm work days, have a defined project, know that you have people with the skills to get it done, and then invite people without the skills to come help get it done. Have a clear objective for what's happening from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, if it's a day-long thing, or beginning of the weekend to the end of the weekend. And then be very clear about the kind of work they're going to do, because many inexperienced hands make longer work. So when you start involving amateurs in your expert level projects, they're gonna slow you down. You are now teaching somebody, and they think that in exchange for their help, that you get, you get a boost. But a lot of times what happens is you don't get a boost. You get the opposite of a boost. And so why would you do this? Well, a couple of reasons. One, teaching more people how to have hands-on skill all around us is a really good thing. So there's an altruistic reason. Two, if you become seen as a mentor or a trainer as part of your, and willing to help pay it forward, you will find that it helps your brand. And you will find that you sell your product. You may even be able to charge for certain kinds of farm work days. And that's, don't feel guilty about it. Like, charge away. We have a lot of free training sessions in Tennessee. We have a really active homesteader community. They're great. And what I see consistently about farm work days that are set up, for training this or that, is when they're offered for free, people sign up and people do not show up. So it's better to charge $20, even if it's just like $20 to cover the food costs of the people you're going to end up feeding at Farm Workday, because you are going to end up feeding them at Farm Workday. It's better to do that than to offer it for free, because even though they are doing work, A, they're slowing you down, and B, they're less likely to show up if they didn't put money down. The minute somebody puts money down, they're serious. They're serious. It's like, okay, I will come. And then list what you will provide. Be really clear about what you will provide as far as toilet access, shower access, camping access, food, water, like all of that stuff, tools, protective gear, and what they need to bring. If you're going to do a farm work day and they're going to need work gloves and you're not providing work gloves, they need to know to bring work gloves. And then you should still have a few extra sets of work gloves on hand, right? And I even say treat it like a workshop. Like people are going to get there. They're going to need food, water, and access to facilities at a minimum, right? And so you want to have thought about that very carefully before you launch into a farm work day, because if you tell them to bring a lunch, like some people will bring a lunch. Some people will think they can step around the corner and go to McDonald's. I'm not kidding. They will think they can step out of your wonderful farm to table experience workday where you're building this hay barn and think they can just run down the road and get a McMac thingy, a Big Mac. And if, like me, you live 25 miles from anything useful, that's going to be a problem for them. So really think about setting up your farm work day from the standpoint of what am I feeding these people? How do I keep them hydrated? How do I keep them warm or cool if it's extra warm or extra cool? And treat it like a workshop. And don't be afraid to charge a little bit of money. And I'm going to put a caveat there. We have work days at the Holler Homestead all the time, and I don't charge for them. Like this weekend, people are coming to help set up for the workshop. Am I charging them for me to show them how to set up for the workshop? No. But it's people who have been here before and know what to do, right? So, and in exchange, what I do is I try to make sure they eat well while they're here. It's going to be hot this weekend, so I'm looking for inside places to let them crash so that they don't end up, boiling outside. Some of them just want to camp outside anyway. That doesn't mean every farm work day needs to be like a workshop-y thing, but you still need to think through the same things of, food, water, sanitation, and, how you're going to handle who goes where for sleeping if it's an overnight. Okay. And then finally, number 5, level 5, access to the farm, internships versus farm day. Sometimes you've got somebody at the farmer's market who keeps pestering you. And they're just really interested, and they just know nothing about homesteading or farming or growing vegetables or raising chickens or whatever it is. And you can invite them to a farm day. Like we did farm day. One of the early farm days I did was to learn how to process pigs. A friend brought me out to the farm. We shot the pig, we processed the pig and rough cut it, and then brought it back to town to do the finer butchering. And that was farm day. And the farmers fed us, and they had water, right? They had a tractor that could lift the pig so you could process it. They had everything set up. So it was work for them. And then we bought the pigs that we processed from them. So that's how they made money. That's farm work day. An internship program is a totally different thing. And somebody like that who's just really interested, you may consider like, hey, well, would you consider an internship program? So instead of coming out just Sunday and I show you what's a weed and what's a plant, or I show you how to put seeds in, or I show you how to mulch, or I show you how to, process chickens, or I show you how to clean the chicken coop. How about instead of that, we take a 4-week period of time and you come on, whatever day, Monday from 9 a.m. to noon or whatever it is, and we'll work on these kinds of projects. And you can learn over time what it means to be on a homestead. And from my perspective, I have certain hours every week dedicated to the internship, so I won't schedule that I'm gone, for example. Okay, so an internship program, you can frame that very differently than agro-tourism, where you have to make stuff fun, or setting up a farm work day where people are learning a specific skill and they're working hard all day and it's kind of like a workshop. An internship can be really beneficial to you. And you can decide if you pay or if you trade, or if it's just you're teaching them for 4 weeks. And then after that, maybe you finally trained your farmhand you couldn't find to hire, because we all know how that goes, right? So I would encourage you, if you're getting a lot of interest, think about how you could do an internship program that doesn't rob you of time. Make sure it's an ongoing weekly schedule, like same time of day, same day of the week. And then what you want to do with an internship program is set it up so like every day that you get here, these are the 5 things you do, whatever it is, feed the horse and brush them and clean their feet, or, whatever it is. You're showing them how to do these things and then they do it. I had one for a kid that was, collect the eggs, fill the food and water, count the eggs and wash them, and tell me how many dozen eggs I got. It was that simple. Those were the things he did every day. And it was just to start learning about duck care. And so you want to have that, but then you want to have, for each week, if you're doing 4 weeks, each week is a different new thing for them to learn. Because at this point, you're mentoring somebody to develop the skills or to learn about it, right? So you have usual and then you have a new thing. And you want to be available during that time. It's not an intern coming and you get to run off and, whatever, go swimming. I think I want to go swimming this week if it would just clear up outside. So I think you can get a lot of that. In order to set that up for success, though, you need to be really clear about your expectations. Like, I'm going to have you shovel poop. Are you okay with shoveling poop? Because you're going to have to shovel poop, for example. So this is the 4-week program. This is what your daily routine will be. These are the new things we're going to do each week, or I don't quite know what we're going to do, but we're going to do some project together every week. And this is what I expect in return from you, that you show up on time, that you come prepared with these kind, like work clothes and gloves and all, and whatever tools, if they need to have tools. Make sure you're doing hands-on training as part of that. And then try to show them the reality of the farm versus the romance of the farm, right? Because, I walked out. So my friend had his 50th birthday party last weekend, and I went home kind of on the early side because I don't like driving late at night, especially not on Memorial Day weekend. And I walked out to my car and I looked across the street and it was a field with grass. And there were thousands of fireflies just sparkling just right at grass level. And it was just like twinkling along the grass. It was beautiful. That's the romance of living in the country, right? That's the romance of your farmstead. And we all have those moments. I just stood there and watched for a while before getting in my car and going home. And I thought, those moments are part of why we do what we do, right? It's not just the awesome food and learning skills and feeling self-reliant and all the, happy, strong girl stuff that I get when I'm on the homestead. It's also when I get to sit outside under the shade cloth over my pergola and have a cup of coffee in the morning and look, and I'm not hearing car noises and I'm not hearing sirens. Like, those moments happen. That's the romance. The reality of the farm, though, is every once in a while you got to scoop poop. You have an animal that's injured and you're the one responsible for fixing it, right? You plant a whole bunch of crops and they fail. I think sometimes as homesteaders and people who communicate about homesteading, we gloss over the failures, but the failures are how we learned to do all this stuff to begin with, right? That time that I was canning and I just made up the time that I thought I remembered to process, to water bath can my tomato sauce, and it turned out it was not enough time. And I quickly ruined, 7 quarts of tomato sauce. Was a lesson for me. And the lesson was, even though I know what I'm doing, double check those details, Nicole, because you have put too much time into raising the tomatoes, making them into sauce, and putting them in the jar to begin with, to mess it up when you process them for not enough time. And now it's a botulism risk, right? And that's like literally a botulism risk in that case. So anyway, I hope this helps with those of you who are looking at building visitors in. I can't stress enough the say no thing. Like, really say no, have clear borders, find a happy way to communicate that, set up training or visiting hours that work for you, the number per week that work for you times the days of the week. Consider turning it into a profit center. And, if you have a way to make money off it through a rental on top of it, that's even better. Or you can set up Airbnb experiences, although I would do them off of Airbnb because you don't seem to get paid enough on Airbnb, like based on what I've seen. set up farm work days and try it out, treat them like a workshop, and then consider if somebody's really interested, can I add an intern? And, like WOOFers, World Organic Something Farmer Exchange Program. Anyway, WOOF, WOOF, WOOFers are interns who, in exchange for you letting them live there, they do internships, but they come usually without any farm skills. So when you're doing an internship, just assume the person does not know the difference between a tomato plant and a pepper plant and a weed. Okay? Because that's how I lost all of my oregano once. I was like, weed this herb bed. That's the oregano. That's the basil. That's something else. Everything else is a weed. And I look in the weed pile and I had like a bushel of oregano that they thought was a weed. And I was like, that was my bad. I should have been there. Right? So really, in the end, whether you decide to allow visitors or helpers to your homestead or farmstead or farm is your decision. And people who become pushy about visiting may not be the kind of people you want visiting your farm. So if people are not taking no for an answer, that's totally an indicator that you need to learn from, because I'm not sure you want that in your life. On the other hand, inviting people in to see what the lifestyle is like, or to learn a bit about what you can do, it could be really good for your business and for your brand, because they'll see how you're treating those animals. They will see how much work it can bring. And, they can bring a little extra money in the form of renting a camper or a cabin. But when people see what goes into producing what you produce, they're a lot less questioning of the price you ask. And I think one of the biggest hindrances to the local farm to table movement is the resistance to the price point, because people are used to grocery store prices, but what you're producing is above grocery store grade, and it takes more work to do the stuff on a smaller scale than it does in a factory farm, right? So be mindful of the ROI on your time for tours and for visits and for farm days and for workshops and for interns, right? Be really mindful of that, and try to make it so the help is not more work for you than it brings you in benefit. It's really that simple. Because I think when we're training, we do help people learn, and they bring something to the table too. And those people learning about what you do will end up being your biggest fans and your biggest brand ambassadors. So just think about that. Anyway, if you like the show and want to support the work I'm doing here, you can do it in two ways. One, become a member over at Living Free in Tennessee. You go over there, click membership, and there are a couple levels to choose from. You can see all of those details there. Two, get your coffee at hollerroast.com. With that, guys, go out, make it a great week. For like 20 seconds there, I thought I had accidentally stopped recording over here where my dashboard is. And then I was like, oh, good, it's still recording. It was just like lagging by. I'm like, dang it, I'm going to have to go back and record the whole thing again. You would have seen me like beat my hat or something. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning into the live stream. We'll have the podcast out in 15, 20 minutes. And I hope it was entertaining on YouTube today.